Hey everyone, this is Jason from Levitt Brothers. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how the Fed and the government flooding the economy with money backfires on them and puts us in a worse situation than where we started. Okay, their intent is good. Okay, something's going on, it's not very good, and they want to soften the blow. But the longer term effects end up being worse than the original situation. So I'm going to start with an analogy by Morgan Housel that he wrote about in an essay a few years ago. He talked about how excessive rainfall in one year often leads to bigger and more forest fires in subsequent years. Generally speaking, if average rainfall in an area, let's say, is 20 inches, I'm just making up the numbers just for the sake of the example. Let's say it's 20 inches, okay, and we're in a little bit of a drought right now. What happens is if we get excessive rainfall one year, say 30 inches, everyone's happy. Hey, nature gets a drink of water. Look at how green it is outside. Everything is healthy again. Some of our reservoirs fill up a little bit. Everything's great. The problem is the next year when rainfall drops to 10 inches, a lot of that vegetation dies, and then that dead vegetation ends up being kindling for the next fire. So in the near term, everyone was thinking, wow, this is great. Normally we get 20 inches of rainfall. Now we're getting 30. This is fantastic. And what ends up happening is that excessive vegetation that grows ends up being, it ends up just setting the stage for forest fires down the line. And this is exactly, or I should say it's analogous to what has happened since COVID broke out. So COVID breaks out, everyone's in panic mode. Fed lowers Fed funds rates, which encourages borrowing. Interest rates are lowered, which encourages companies to borrow and spend. It encourages people to borrow and spend. The housing market goes out of control. Okay, houses that are listed for 700 grand are selling for 10, 15% over their asking price. The Fed engages in quantitative easing to flood the market with money. The government sends out stimulus checks. They send out child tax credit checks. They create this PPP loan program, which most of the money just went into the pockets of business owners, which you could argue is good or bad. But bottom line is they flooded the market with money, which in the near term was great. People did actually pay down some debt. Okay, debt fell in a significant amount. But now the proverbial chickens are coming home to roost. Inflation is the highest it's been in over 40 years. Okay, gas, food, everything. Used cars were, is that the first time in history that a used car was actually appreciating in value? But now, and also, the economy is slowing. Some companies have missed earnings. Companies are starting to lay off employees. And debt now is significantly higher than it was pre-COVID, and it's trending up. Okay, so we went from one extreme of flooding the market and the economy with money, and now we're going in the other direction. Now, how far in the other direction we go, we don't know yet. Okay, the early indications are not very good. We don't know if we're going to have a full-blown forest fire quite yet. You would think the government would go slow and steady. Okay, keep the money supply about even year after year, tinker it just a little bit. Okay, but a review of their track record would suggest the desire to fix near-term problems causes bigger issues down the road, and this is why flooding the market and the economy with money backfires. What's happening right now in the economy with the money supply is exactly what has happened with near-term thunderstorms that have, enabled huge vegetation growth and then set the stage for forest fires a year or two later. The extreme amount of money printing that took place over the last 2 years is now going to go in reverse, or I should say is going in reverse, and is going to cause even bigger problems than existed before the virus broke out.